commercial and consumer clients. Stop by the Jessup branch and meet branch manager Mandy Yeomans and her fantastic team. Call 912-810-1540. Let First Southern Bank be your bank of choice. First Southern Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
8:06 here at the Big Dog WIFO-FM World Famous Butch and Bob Show, brought to you this morning by Murphy Builder Supply, First Southern Bank, and Damon's Famous Fingers and Wings. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning, Jonathan. Got a special guest in the studio again. Superintendent Jay Brinson is with us. School board has met several times over the last several days. Decisions had to be made, and decisions were made. Again, one thing I guess we should say at the outset, Jay, this 30-minute program is not going to change anybody's mind. Everybody has an opinion. If
Sure.
you don't think they should go to school, they're not going to,
Sure.
But the board and the superintendent had to make decisions. As they stated, they did a survey and took information from the public. You had a meeting the previous Tuesday where no decision was made. The only decision was to meet this past Tuesday. But the decision's been made. I just want to get your thoughts. It's been 2 days since the decision's been made. What's been the reaction from the decisions?
Well, I mean, in the world that we're living, the what-if world we're living in, and that came through in the survey that we sent out. I mean, it's split, really pretty much in half, as far as opinion what you should do and shouldn't do, and how you should handle whatever situation. But we have made decisions that all children are going back to school. We pushed it back 2 weeks to further prepare. And I'm excited about that route. I think it's just important. We've weighed a lot of different things, considered a lot of different factors, and there is risk. There's risk for me sitting here talking to you. There's risk out there, with this virus. But we feel like weighing that risk to what we're able to do for kids in school. We feel like it was important to at least try to begin. And we know there's going to be situations that come up we're going to have to manage. And, if it gets to the point we have to go totally virtual, we will for a period of time or a long period of time, whatever needs to be done. But, to establish that identity, make sure those contacts, and that's just critical to make sure we're in communication with the family unit of the child. It's just critical in a child's education, even before that, this has happened.
Yeah, and the school was pushed back 2 weeks, but I'm curious, the teachers' original date was August 3rd. It got pushed one. What was the difference between August 3rd and August 4th? I was curious about that.
Because, you get into holidays. We were trying to protect, that week for Thanksgiving, 2 weeks for Christmas, some of those, a lot of different factors, the breaks of the days, and it just worked out that way. We tried to even out the amount of student days in each semester. Just a lot of things go into that calendar. It's not as if you're going to try to protect some of the things that we've given. And I was told a few weeks back that stuck with me that once you give a gift twice, it becomes expectation. So, so that's kind of where we are with some of the things that we used to do, and so we're trying to protect that. And so it just worked out. The math just worked out.
I'm curious. The State Board of Education, a report came out today. We're going to meet and possibly push everything back to after Labor Day, but then they totally didn't discuss it at all. We got a local person here on that state board. Mm-hmm. Have you heard from Mike Long at all?
Oh yeah.
What happened there?
The politics is running rampant just about in everything, and not really sure. Not going to try to speak for Mike Long and the State Board of Education. They were having a meeting to discuss it. There was some, superintendents were told they were going to discuss and possibly recommend, a later start date for schools. But I don't think, the State Board was really aware of that, and they certainly not. They're bored. They get actors on their own accord. So.
Well, the survey that we took here, Amy Dean said that 68% said they wanted it. What's the September 8th date ever discussed? What was the possibility of that?
It was. I mean, that was actually on the survey, and there was. I forget the numbers exactly. Maybe a third of the people wanted after Labor Day start, and I think maybe a third wanted 25% wanted after Labor Day, 25% wanted 24th and 9th, 50 wanted to go back as scheduled or something like that. So it was kind of split. So we kind of went in the middle. We didn't go to after Labor Day, and just put it in perspective. In our RESA area, in those 17, 18 counties. August 24th is the latest any system's going back. Nobody's going back in our area after Labor Day. August 24th is the latest. Matter of fact, several of those school districts are starting next week.
Right. Liberty County starting August 13th. I'm just curious, got the comment from Dr. Franklin Perry. They decided to go all virtual in Liberty County. He made a statement, we can't afford not to educate our children, but we can't afford to put them in harm's way. So when you hear that,
And I'll go back to what I said a little ago. It's all about weighing out the risk, and every situation is a little bit different. I mean, that's why you see everybody from the governor on down, or any governing body, they're kind of saying, no, we're going to let the local districts or let the locals make that decision, which is a good thing, but it does cause a lot of confusion. You said, when you look, we're 30 miles away from Liberty, so how is that a lot different than what, what's going on in Wayne County, and you see spikes, in our area here recently. So, I get the concern, but I think you can't take things at face value. You got to dig into it a little bit more. And Dr. Perry's a well-respected and a fantastic superintendent, and he's doing what he feels is best for Liberty County, and they'll be successful.
People have asked the question, why not an option? Why not, if they want to do virtual? Is there a legal issue with that? I mean, your comment was made by Joe Mack, something about legal. People keep asking, what was he referring to? That we have
no, legal. Yes, we could have offered, I guess, either or option, and that's certainly legal. You can do anything you kind of want to. We're a strategic waiver school district. I took the position early on because, in speaking with our legal counsel, if you are both offering a choice, okay, it does bring up a lot of additional liability or legal matters that could be an issue for you. We're public education. We're mandated by the federal government actually to provide a free and appropriate public education in an equitable manner. And I just couldn't get past telling a parent, we're going to be able to offer virtually the same level, the same quality of education. Your child's going to get everything that they're going to get in a virtual way as they would get in person.
And we have a text question that ties into that extracurricular band and all the other sports. What happens if you go all virtual, or if you were to go hybrid? What would happen there?
I'm giving the lawyer response. It depends. No, I'm not for. Of course, the board will make that ultimate decision, but it would have to be a very serious and severe situation for me to recommend no sports, no anything whatsoever. Again, you get into numbers. It depends on the sport. Right now football's out there, with really very little limitations at this point. I mean, it's football.
Again, it goes by local decision, because Fulton County superintendent has made that decision. Right. If you don't come to class, you're not participating in the extracurricular activities. So that's caused a firestorm up there in Fulton County, because the parents are upset about that.
Sure,
so.
yeah. And we could do that. I mean, legally we could do that at the local level. Again, I'm just a big proponent of, we want to educate kids, but it's also important in education to provide opportunities. And we know how valuable, the research is clear on how valuable a student being immersed in something going on with the school, some identity, not necessarily sports, but it could be ROTC, band, a club, something they latch on to. It just further their involvement in the school and their success level, and prepared to go into the into the workforce. And when you're talking about sports, for example, I'm an example of it right here. I would not be sitting here with you today as a superintendent of Wayne County Schools if it had not been for sports. That provided opportunities for me to, so
I can give a personal. My sister, they said they shut down schools in Virginia, and my sister is irate because her son, my nephew, pretty talented athlete, but he's on that borderline. Mm-hmm. Can he get a scholarship? Well, guess what? They want to see him on the field. They want to see him participate. So he's not going to get that opportunity. So that's another opportunity lost for students that, those kids that are borderline scholarship athletes. Yeah. Coaches want to see them on the field. Sure. They want to see them participate in athletics. So if they don't have the athletics, no film to show them, then guess what? They get lost in the shuffle. They got to go walk on. So she's irate up there.
And that's why these
I thought she can move them down here. I'll take them in. So.
And that's why these discussions. That's why it stays pretty much 50%. Because you're talking about life-altering decisions. Either way, if he didn't get exposed, didn't get seen by a coach, that may put him on another route for life. Not saying he's not going to be successful, but it may change the route a little bit.
She's irate about it, but like I said, there's nothing she can do because they already made that decision. But it's interesting, like I said, and that's what we talked about. It's just like this whole COVID-19. There's no consistency anywhere. No. Everybody's flying by the seat of their pants. Everybody's making their own decisions. And now every school system is making their own decisions, so they got to go with it. As the board, you can see the agony in the board's members' face making a decision, because they knew, like Nick Ellis says, you're not going to please everybody. No. There's going to be people out there upset with the decision, no matter what decision was made. But the decision was made. The other decision was made. There were 2 votes taken. One was the start date for teachers and students. The other vote was mandatory mask on the bus, at the schools, teachers, faculty. How's that going to be? And that's what everybody's already going crazy about. How are you going to keep little third graders mask on? Or how are you going to
management of that's going to be difficult. But I mean, that is that's a proven mitigating factor of reducing the spread, potential spread of the virus. So we're going to manage it to the best of our ability. I mean, we're going to have to use some common sense, and 4 and 5-year-olds wearing masks. That's and we do that now. I told principal the other day that, this is our new pull your pants up and take your hat off in the building. I mean, we remind kids every day to do those type of things. We're just going
and the school's going to provide the mask. Is that correct?
If need be, yes.
And they're going to have hand sanitizer stations across. What about I was curious, they said they're not going to have the water fountains on. What's the reason for that?
Again, the water fountains, mouth contact with the water fountain, being that close, and then the next person coming. It's not.
So that's a safety precaution as well.
And that's just a recommendation from the Department of Health. And
so they're all going to bring their own water bottles.
Yeah, we'll provide some. We've already had a church that's going to, donate some, and try to get everybody a water bottle. Again, just trying to put some things in place that if, that we don't spread it if somebody does happen to come to school, with symptoms and is contagious.
Again, as we mentioned, we're in this what-if category. So, the comment was made that the school system is able to go virtual if need be. So, what scenario would you see? Well, would get to that point.
And I don't have delusions of grandeur that we're not going to have a situation where maybe there's a positive case in a school that we don't have to shut down a part of a school or a school, or maybe the whole system for a period of time. And so it just will depend on the factors. I mean, we're given guidance on how to manage it, and far as working with the Department of Health, how to contact trace it, and you interview folks, get the information, and then you decide the course of action. And that's scary when you start talking about that. But again, it's about the risk and the potential weighed out to the benefits you're getting of in-person school. But the thinking is, if we can get started, if we have to go to virtual, we will for a period of time where it's safe, and then you come back to in-person school. And we feel like we got a platform now. A lot of work's been done. Our teachers, I can't say enough about the hard work they've done over the summer. I can tell you, it sounds like, it hadn't been to work since March 13th. Well, that's not totally accurate. They've been working and preparing really since we left school back in March, as far as working on that virtual platform, be able to have class with a room full of students, distance learning wise.
The discussions were interesting because when they talked about the virtual learning that took place, they said that they weren't real pleased with how it went, and there were discussions about, like, if you got a family, you got three kids, and they're all in different grade levels, but you only have one computer. How does that work? They also just talked about how some students didn't have internet access. They had to go to. So, explain that process, and how will it be better if it does go to virtual this time around?
Well, it's going to be better in that we're still not one-to-one with the devices, but we're using that CARES Act money. To purchase more devices where we can put each child will have a device if they need one. We'll supplement them, and also hotspots. But there's also situations we still have we're going to have about 20% of our student body that's not going to have access. I mean, you got to have an internet service provider to have internet, obviously, and that's the case in Wayne County. So that's a bigger problem that we'll have to work through that. So there'll be some paper, pencil delivered type stuff, and they'll drop it off and pick the information up. Going back to the spring, our teachers done a wonderful job with the best of their ability with what they had to work with. But the governor, in his expectation, in his executive order, he said that this situation, will not negatively affect. Well, that kind of clipped their wings as far as the accountability piece, and if it can't negatively affect folks, how are you making sure they turn things in when kids read and communicate? If the grades can't go down, how hard am I going to work on an assignment thing? So that's not the case now. So we will be able to, hold kids a lot more accountable. So it would be better. That's the difference I see between this fall and then last spring.
And Bruce Harris made a good point when he used to comment about some classes that are hard to do virtual. Yeah. How do you do chemistry virtual? How do you do
Well, yeah, and we're of course brainstorming and trying to come up with ways to do that. And the thinking with that is, if we do go virtual for a period of time, it's you can distance with 5 kids. They make a field trip from home to the school, and maybe we have a third of them come this day, and they actually do their experiments or their lab in the in construction or auto mechanics or whatever, and then the next day for an hour the other ones come in. You can kind of rotate them through and control it a little better that way.
And one decision also made, open house will be all virtual. Is that correct?
It is, yes.
We're release on that.
We're discussing maybe pushing that date back. Again, it's virtual. We've pushed school back. We're adjusting work calendars, so there may be a change with that next by the end of the week or the beginning of next week. I think it's scheduled maybe
August 6th, I think
6th or something.
Let me just get the press release. I got the press release here.
We're thinking about pushing that back since it's not necessary. Again, that virtual open house, we've chosen to do that kind of as a dry run with parents, just with the communication.
Yeah, right now, freshman orientation is set for Thursday, August 6th. The virtual open house is also set for August 6th at 3 p.m. for all grade levels. So you said that may be pushed back. So.
Yeah, since we got some more time, we're trying to get our teachers in the building, get them comfortable. They still have a lot of preparations to do, and there's really no sense to rush it now since school's been pushed back 2 weeks.
Speaking of masks, Jonathan and I were talking about, forget the issue with the little kids not wearing a mask. We're worried about the high school. What can be on the mask? Is there going to be guidelines? What can be on the mask? What can't be on the mask? I mean, you don't want to.
And what's going to happen there? That's somewhat problematic. But we're still going to apply our dress code principles. We're not getting into the political realm. There's certainly not going to be inappropriate, writings or artwork on the mask and that sorts of things. We'll have to apply that, and we'll have to coach our kids up. But there'll be an education phase into that. But we're not getting into that same thing. But again, it's pretty, the dress code policy, even though masks are not addressed in there technically, we can make adjustments as we need to.
And the bus ride situation, that was discussed at the board meeting. Apparently, the school system doesn't have to provide transportation, but you're a strong believer that, you want to provide that transportation. So correct? Explain
that's
that.
Correct. Well, there's and that's state guidelines that we're not required to provide school bus transportation. If you reside within 1.5 miles from school, you're not required. That's not an expectation or tied to any funding or anything like that. We've always done that. There's a great majority of our students that live within 1.5 miles. But you see these busy roads. I'm not real comfortable with some folks walking across 341 or 84 trying to get down here to James E. Bacon Elementary. So that was really the only option if we were going to try to do true social distancing on school buses.
And you hear all kinds of things. Speaking of funding, I've heard this story that we make more money if kids go to school and if they don't. Is that true?
No.
Funding's not tied into that, is it?
No, they have to be enrolled in our school, okay? But virtual learning or in-person learning, there's no difference any whatsoever. Now, the documentation of virtual learning is a little bit more difficult, but educating a child is educating a child, and funding's not any different.
And the money that came from the CARES Act, what was that used for? You got that money?
Yeah,
right?
like I said,
I said that's
a lot of devices, personnel. Yeah. It's used, and again, that's not additional money. When your budget from the state gets cut, $5.5 million, and then all of a sudden you get an extra 1.5. Is what we got with the CARES Act money. That's still in the red. I'm not real smart, but that's still in the negative. So
you're still $3.5 million behind. So
at least, but. We are. That money's it's a line item in our budget. So every month the RJ Aldridge goes over our budget. That's in there. So if anybody wants to view that, they certainly can.
Well, one thing also, all the information is on the school board website. So we stressed that before when Amy and Reggie Bird was here. They're asking people that if you need any information, to please go to the website and get the information, not to go to Facebook and other places to get your information. So.
Don't recommend that.
The survey was on. The survey to Amy Denny made a good point. People possibly do the survey more than once, but the reason that is because she felt if you had to go and identify yourself, they want to do the survey. So they wanted participation. They got good participation. 5,400 some people took time to fill out the survey. So that's right. As the board member said, all that was appreciated. They appreciated everybody taking time to fill out the survey.
That was a great response, and that's right. If you take away the anonymity of a survey, if people get a little weary of filling it out, afraid you're going trace it back and put them on the naughty list or retaliate against them or something like that. When we've seen that. So, and again, we kind of felt like it was going to kind of be kind of 50-50 in just about every question. Even with over 5,000 people responding, it was, pretty much split on both sides. Yeah, pretty much. It was kind of strange.
Well, the good news is the decision has been made. Again, it was a decision the board had to make. It was a unanimous decision. Again, 2 votes were taken. One for the start of school August 24th, and the other one is to have people wear masks on the bus and also at school. So hopefully they'll be able to handle that. Again, the school says they'll supply the mask if you don't have one, so don't worry about that. They'll have plenty of hand sanitation stations set up, and I'm sure the teachers do a good job reminding people to just do what they're supposed to do, social distance.
Yeah, that's it.
How about the classrooms?
Washing hands.
Will they be able to do the social distance classroom? Those classrooms be spaced out?
As much as we can, as much as we can. I mean, it's so important, especially for younger kids, to get into small groups. We're teaching kids to read. I mean, there's a lot of things that have to go on. For example, small kids really need to watch the teacher's mouth. That's how they learn to enunciate words, and those things. That's so important. So
that's the one thing I thought about. Mask. It's interesting. Some people wear masks and you can understand what they're saying. Some people wear masks you can't understand what they say. So what if you got a kid in the back of the classroom and the teacher you can't? That could be a problem as well.
Right, and it's okay to put down your mask to speak and pull it back up. Again, it's all about mitigating the risk and the exposure. So there'll be some of that. You have to take down your mask to eat and drink. We're still going to serve breakfast and lunch, and so there's going to be some mask downtime if they're running around out there on the playground. Or PE, they're not going to expect to have their mask on the whole time. They got to be able to breathe.
And speaking of breakfast and lunch, that decision was made at the last board meeting as well, that all kids are going to get free breakfast, free lunch, right? And
Dr. Chapman worked extremely hard on that, and everybody's getting free breakfast and free lunch, elementary, middle, and high. That's a program we think. Of course, we can't go broke, but that we're going to try it this year. This whole year, and if we have to dip into our local funds a little bit, I mean, that couldn't be CARES money, because we're tying it to the virus. If we're going to try to do it anytime, this is a time to do it where we don't have to have kids up there mashing keypads or bringing money and transferring money. They just go through the line, and it cuts down a lot of the actual touching of things. And so
I'm curious, were the breakfast and lunches will be packaged already when they just, or they still, how was that?
There'll be some prepackaged stuff, but it won't be all prepackaged meals. It'd be the breakfast and lunch. So, and we are working on how that's going to look. There will probably be some eating in the classroom, but there'll be some eating in the lunchrooms as well. Because if you have that up, now you can distance a little more in the lunchrooms.
Right. Well, decision's been made. How you feel about the decision? I said, what's going on?
I'm excited about it. I think if we can just get everybody in, they want to be with children. I mean, they're teachers, and so if we can the numbers will keep going like they're going. I mean, since the downward trend has continued as far as cases. I think yesterday, the day before, there was only 9. I think yesterday was only 6 new cases. Now, the day before that, so there's still a trend downward. It was 45, 48, 50 cases a day, and so that's trending the right way, and we have to continue to watch that. So,
one thing that hasn't been publicized that y'all mentioned at the meeting too, every Friday there's a group that meets to go over city, county officials, the CEO of the hospital. Who all's attending those meetings, and what all's taking place there?
A lot of just a good slice of our community leaders from the city, the county. Like I said, healthcare professionals. Joy Wright at the hospital has been tremendous in being a just information source. Stacy Drew Brooker from the health department. They're tremendous. Well, we're not healthcare professionals, but this is certainly tied into what we do. So it's just really a little think tank talk and discussion how to manage things, what's coming up on their end, and that's been very helpful. Chairman Herschel Hires has kind of led that for us, and City Council, Mr. Ellis has been in there, with me in the school system. So just a good slice. It's been very helpful.
Okay, like I said, we always appreciate you coming in. Like I said,
appreciate you having us.
The meetings have been interesting. Like I said, you can just see the anguish on board members' faces having to make a decision. But unfortunately, the local. So you think the local decision is the best way to go? You don't think the statewide mandate should?
I think it cuts both ways. I've heard Mr. Bill Werkheiser say that sometimes when them tough decisions come, you want a little help. But I'm never going to say that. Making a local decision is a bad thing. We just got to, trying to make the best decision we can make with the information we have. And if it turns out to be wrong, you apologize and say, I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to do it that way. If it turns out bad, don't say, well, I do the same thing. I'm going to do something different next time.
So. There you go. Well, again, we always appreciate you coming in. Any information, if the virtual day does get pushed back, just send us a press release. We'll get that information out. But again, right now, teachers go August 4th and students go August 24th. That's the plan in place at this time.
That's it.
Okay, Jay, appreciate you coming in.
All right, thanks, gentlemen.
That's going to do it for today's World Famous Butch and Bob Show. Again, tomorrow we'll have the chairman of the County Commissioners, Herschel Harris, as our special guest. So, again, they had a retreat last week. He'll talk about the retreat, how that went, and all the countywide news. So that's tomorrow on the World Famous Butch and Bob Show. Again, have a great day. Stay safe.